Today, we're going to talk about a well known marriage between Todd Tucker and Kandi Buruss, entertainer mogul. We're going to talk about the divorce settlement that has been settled. Recently, they reached a divorce settlement after the 11-year marriage that they have. Between them, they have two children, biologically theirs, together, and they've been together for 11 years. So, if there's anything that I say within this video that is not uh accurate, because the divorce settlement is not finalized. I believe they have a few more days to where this is actually finalized, but they have the settlement on the table. And so a lot of people are speculating and wondering, what does this actually mean? And what is this divorce settlement? What does it include? So I do have some notes here that I'm going to be reading and looking at to make sure I give you all the information. So if you're not subscribed to this channel, make sure you click the subscribe button now so that you will not miss a video on the tax-free millionaire blueprint. So let's talk about the numbers. Now, no, we're not speculating this anymore. A lot of people were wondering, Kandi is a large figure. She had a lot of money before she was even involved with Todd, as an entertainer. She's part of a music group, and she also has her own businesses before Todd came in the picture. She's an Atlanta housewife, and basically, Kandi makes her own money, and we all know that. So, what we're looking at in this divorce is a $2 million payout from Kandi, the business control shifts, child support up to $25,000 a month, and a prenup that was not contested. So, yes, Kandi and Todd did have a prenup, and they had this prenup, and it was said that hours before the wedding and the ceremony is when Todd actually signed the prenup. So there was some issue with Todd signing the prenup, and he actually signed it hours before the wedding. So there was a prenup. So let's just talk about this. How we do it on the tax-free millionaire blueprint. This was a divorce, a breakup, but it was not just a breakup. This was a financial exit. Okay, so we're going to break down what really happened here and what you can learn from this. So, the headline is the $2 million payout. So, most people are looking at this and saying, oh, wow, Kandi has to pay $2 million. Why did she have to pay so much to him? And wondering, what does this really mean? Did she win? Did she lose? So what Kandi did, if this is true, like I said, if the numbers are wrong, this is what the latest is from the sources that I'm getting. But if the numbers are wrong, I will come back and update that. Okay, so Kandi paid, or is prepared to pay, a $2 million payout. But what she did is she brought control, peace, and simplicity. So a lot of times we see these divorces go out and last for long periods of time because nobody wants to pay anything out. And they want to go back and forth with the amount. Sometimes you have to just, pay uh to get the peace that you need, or to get the closure that you need. So because this is a high level divorce, And so this lump sum, what it does is it has financial entanglement. She cut the financial entanglement from this. She cut the financial entanglement. So instead of Kandi spending years on this divorce and money from attorneys and lots of disputes arising, what she did is she's just going to pay this $2 million and she's going to get out of this financial entanglement. So with a high level divorce, there are things that will come up that is not worth your time and your energy. So she ended that. No ongoing disputes, no percentage based payouts, no profit sharing battles. So she wrote a check, and what she wrote the check was to close the chapter. So a lot of people are going to say they wouldn't have paid $2 million, in this situation. But Kandi has a lot going on. So she probably feels it's definitely worth it for her to pay this amount. So from a tax and a wealth perspective, she bought herself some control. Okay, so the $2 million is worth more than money to her. She brought some control. So it gets interesting because Todd reportedly takes control of the restaurants. So most people are going to say Todd won with the businesses. So Todd gets the businesses. So this is true, but not necessarily, because restaurants in general are high overhead, high liability, operationally intense as well. So the real question is, were those businesses cash flowing assets or were they responsibilities? So what did Todd get? Did he get cash flowing assets or did he get responsibilities? Because if Kandi retained licensing, royalties, and her brand equity, she may have kept the scalable income. So there's a difference. Kandi kept the scalable income while Todd took the active workload. That's definitely a power move if it's structured correctly. So that's a power move. So property in divorces, high level divorces, there's going to be property. So Kandi keeps the primary residence, and that matters because real estate isn't just about where you live at. It's also about the equity that's within the property, which most people overlook. The equity that's in the property, the appreciation, and also the tax advantages that you get from a property, and also stability. So keeping a home for Kandi, it maintains that long-term asset value. It avoids liquidation and it keeps control of a major appreciating asset. So for Kandi to keep the home, she also gains stability from this divorce. And this is her primary home. So that's not, emotional. So this is not an emotional move for Kandi. This is a strategic wealth retention move. So now as her property appreciates, she gets to have more wealth in the end from the asset that she kept the control of. Okay, so moving along, what surprises people is that Todd becomes the primary custodial parent. And as I said, if anything within these updates are false, I'm going to come back and I'm going to update it with the right information. But this is what is being reported from all the sources now about the divorce settlement. So Todd allegedly, let's just say, becomes the primary parent, the custodial parent, and may receive between $10,000 to $25,000 per month in child support. Now, let's break it down. This is a reverse of what people expect. People most likely expected Kandi to have primary custodial custody of the children. But financially, it makes some sense because child support, if you think about it, is based on the income disparity, custody structure and the lifestyle maintenance because this is a high level divorce. And so here's the key: child support is not just about the child, it's about maintaining the standard of living. So the standard that they was living before the divorce, the children are supposed to have the same standard of living after the divorce. Nothing is supposed to change with that. So if Kandi is the higher earner, the system adjusts accordingly to Kandi's earnings as well as what Todd is earning from this as well. So it's about more than just who has the children. So the real lesson here is also the prenup. Like I said in the beginning, there was a prenup between Kandi and Todd that was signed by Todd. Kandi had her attorneys create an agreement and it was signed by Todd right before the wedding. I hear it was hours before the wedding. So the prenup was not contested in this divorce. Okay, so the prenup held whatever Kandi had in her prenuptial agreement, it held because obviously it was a strong prenup. And so the prenup defines ownership, it protects the premarital assets, and also it prevents this drawn out long legal battle as we was talking about with Kandi having to pay a $2 million settlement to Todd. This prevents a long drawn out battle between the exes. So most importantly, it protects the business interests. So the businesses that was running before they were married, she gets to keep that control and continue her businesses. So people are looking just at the payout and not looking at the control that Kandi still has and will have after she's divorced because of these things that were put in place. So when emotions, are high, it's a different story. So basically, this is why high level earners don't play about paperwork because the emotions are high and the contracts will keep things clean. So that prenuptial agreement that Kandi had, she keeps her things in order. So that keeps it clean, not a long drawn out disastrous legal battle with the kids in the middle. Okay? So when you look at the real strategy behind all of this, the entire settlement, entire divorce settlement shows you something very powerful. And this is what a lot of people miss. This wasn't messy. We didn't hear about Kandi and Todd going back and forth fighting. And in fact, we also heard that they were spending a lot of time together before the settlement. They were, seen together. There were pictures of them as well. But, it wasn't messy. We can see that. It was structured. So they both knew that they were getting a divorce, but they didn't want it to be messy. I don't think Todd wanted it to be messy, and I definitely don't think Kandi wanted it to be messy, and that's what was more important to them, which is obvious. So we're looking at this lump sum instead of long-term disputes, clear division of the business interests, asset protection through property retention, income balancing through support, and a prenup that guided everything, that guided the whole divorce. Because what if Kandi would not have had that prenuptial agreement? Things could have got messy if Kandi did not have that prenuptial agreement. So that's not luck that Kandi had, is actually was planning. So Kandi plans before the divorce even happened, and that's what a prenuptial agreement does. And with the high level income divorce or marriage, you have to be careful because these things are bound to happen. Custody disputes, divorces, bound to happen. Anything could happen, even though they are high income earners. But the thing is that what they did, not making it messy, Kandi putting a prenuptial agreement in place, Kandi controlled. And we all know that Kandi, is a boss and been a boss before the marriage. And so she did what she was supposed to do as that person who wanted to keep control of the assets that she has. So the real takeaway from this is whether you're building alone or with someone, dating someone, or you're already married, you need to think like this too. Because how can you protect what you're building? That's your main question. You don't want everything that you built someone to come in and be able to take control of it because you were too lazy to get a prenuptial agreement or to sit back and talk with a specialist, a attorney, or someone to figure out if you need to have these things in place. Because some people, they just don't, they just go with the flow. So it's not about just making money. You want to protect your money. You want to keep your money and you want to structure it and control it most of all. So no matter what happens, if you don't have a strategy, then your life circumstances are going to create that outcome and that structure for you. And then you have no control. So if you like information like this, if you like me breaking down these wealth stories and tax advantages and structuring of taxes and plans and building wealth, make sure you subscribe to this channel because I have a whole lot. I actually have part two of Kandi becoming a boss and putting her things in order to make the wealth that she had even before marriage. So that's going to be part two. This is part one. But if you want to be wealthy or think like the wealthy, you have to plan. So subscribe to this channel and I will see you in the next video.